What happens when the very institution meant to uphold the moral fabric of a nation becomes its greatest liability? When those sworn to serve instead manipulate, conceal, and deceive until the weight of their own corruption becomes too monstrous to hide? This is not a philosophical question for idle debate. It is the grim political reality Britain faces today. Keir Starmer, a man once branded as Labour's clean break from chaos, now stands as the face of one of the most damning political implosions in modern British history. And let us be absolutely clear. His resignation should not be viewed as a consequence of media pressure or partisan opportunism. It is a legal necessity, a democratic imperative, and a moral reckoning long overdue. For years, the British public has been gaslit into believing that integrity still lived within the halls of power. That, despite mounting disillusionment, the core principles of parliamentary democracy remained intact. Today, that illusion lies in ruins. A 124-page Supreme Court verdict doesn't merely suggest wrongdoing. It establishes a devastating narrative of calculated deceit, financial obfuscation, and an utter contempt for the ethical standards that bind public service. This wasn't a one-off mistake or a technical error buried in bureaucratic gray zones. This was systematic, sustained, and cynical. Those still attempting to spin this as an overblown media spectacle are either politically naive or willfully complicit. The scale of Starmer's misconduct is staggering, not just because of the monetary figures involved, but because of what they represent. A £124,000 discrepancy in property dealings, undeclared luxury gifts, hidden offshore interests, and lavish foreign research trips all point to one thing: a man who believed the rules did not apply to him. And why wouldn't he? Until now, British political culture has allowed elite misconduct to be excused, watered down, or endlessly debated into oblivion. But the judiciary has drawn a line, and it is about time the rest of the nation followed suit. Some will argue that a forced resignation sets a dangerous precedent that undermines democratic choice. On the contrary, it enforces democratic standards. Democracy is not simply about casting votes. It is about ensuring that those elected remain accountable to the law, to transparency, and to the public trust. A leader who manipulates a system to enrich himself while cloaking his gains in layers of deception is not the product of democracy. He is the product of its erosion. And yet, the true danger is not Starmer's fall. It is the instinct to downplay its consequences. Already, there are murmurs within the political class urging unity, stability, and time to heal. These platitudes insult every citizen who played by the rules while their leaders did not. They mask cowardice as pragmatism. The Labour Party, if it has any intention of surviving this crisis with a shred of legitimacy, must not merely distance itself from Starmer. It must denounce him. Silence, hesitation, or backroom strategizing will be interpreted exactly as they are, a sign that power, not principle, is still the overriding concern. The public is not stupid. They have endured austerity while watching tax-funded expenses cover champagne and private jets. They have swallowed speeches on duty and sacrifice from MPs with second homes and third passports. They have had enough. The eruption of protest outside Westminster was not spontaneous. It was inevitable. Years of compounding frustration have finally found their flashpoint, and those in power will be wise to realize that this is not just about one man's downfall. It is a referendum on the entire political culture that enabled it. Nigel Farage may have seized the moment with characteristic bluntness, but his call for an immediate general election isn't opportunism. It is constitutional sanity. The current government has lost its mandate, its credibility, and its moral compass. To limp forward under a caretaker prime minister selected through internal party politics would only deepen the crisis. Let the people decide. That is the only way to reset the social contract that Starmer has so thoroughly shredded. In this moment, Britain has a choice: bury this scandal beneath political theatre, or confront it head-on with a demand for radical integrity. That begins with rejecting the narrative that this is merely unfortunate or complicated. It is neither. It is betrayal, clear and unvarnished, and it requires not only resignation but reform. The Labour Party must take its medicine now, or it will die a slower, more humiliating death at the ballot box. The Conservative Party, despite its glee, should tread carefully. It has scandals of its own still simmering beneath the surface. Reform UK, Greens, Liberal Democrats. Every political faction now has one test to pass. Will you rise to this moment or shrink from it? Because make no mistake, the public is watching and their patience has expired. Starmer's fall is not the end of a story. It is the beginning of a reckoning. And no spin doctor, no clever press release, no emergency cabinet meeting can change that. Britain is staring at its own reflection, and it's time to decide what kind of country it wants to be.